Hey Arnold, Jungle Movie, let's go. Welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm AwestruckVox, and Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie just premiered on TV, and I have so many feelings. Being born in '97, I was fortunate enough to live in a crossover period between the 2000s and the 90s, and thus was able to watch and enjoy series from both the late 90s and early 2000s, one of them being Hey Arnold. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm the biggest Hey Arnold fan ever, but I did really enjoy the show. I really enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed the atmosphere. It gave me an idea of what life in the big city is. And for someone who's lived in the suburbs most of their lives, it was cool to get an idea of what that perspective's like. Now, towards the end of the series, start delving into the mystery of Arnold's parents, and by extension, introduce some more supernatural elements. And as many of you may know, the Hey Arnold movie, the one that was in theaters, was supposed to be a TV movie, while the Jungle movie that I think you just watched on TV was supposed to be in theaters, but instead, it got flipped around. The Jungle movie was supposed to be on TV, yet it never happened. So here we are, 13 years later, finally having our television screens. And was it worth it? Hell yeah. So what happens in the Jungle movie? Well, going into it, while I loved this film, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty predictable at points. Arnold gets a chance to go on a field trip to the place where his parents disappeared. He attempts to win this project by building a community project. But that goes awry, so Helga comes through. Of course, she's head over heels for Arnold, and gets a video put together of all the times Arnold has helped someone. Basically a trip down nostalgia lane. It's one of those moments where it's like, hey, remember this moment from the show? Okay, how about this one? But they do it so well that you literally can't complain. We get to see fan favorites again, like Stoop Kid and Pigeon Man. The entire time I was just looking at my television screen like, I remember those episodes. Fan service done right. Needless to say, the content is in the bag. Arnold and his class goes on a field trip. Before he leaves, his grandpa forbids him from looking for his parents, but gives him permission to find Eduardo, a best friend of his parents. So they get there, he finds Eduardo, and the entire time you're just like, I'm not too sure about this guy, I'm getting a negative vibe. And it's plot points like that where the predictability comes in. It doesn't really hinder your experience of the film, especially since Hey Arnold has always been character driven, and the characters definitely shine through in this film, but at the same time, since this is intended to be the grand finale, you do wish they kind of went a little bit more above and beyond when writing the film. They get attacked by pirates, some Jack Sparrow One Piece shit happens. Forgot to mention Eduardo gives Arnold this amulet. Arnold is apparently the chosen one of the Green Eyes, and when he gets the amulet, you're thinking, okay, that's gonna put everyone in danger, and it does. Their boat gets wrecked. Eduardo's like, oh, okay, but the habitat we're staying at is only a few miles away. They walk over, they finally get there, it looks nice. Boom, big reveal. Eduardo is actually La Sombra, the big major antagonist of the film.
No shit.
And you're just like, oh no, I totally didn't see this coming, except I did. And it makes you wonder, were the pirates who attacked him earlier actually the good guys? Because usually when twists like this happens, that's the other twist that comes along. La Sombra takes them hostage, the kids use their smarts to get out, they escape, and then it's revealed, oh, I intended for them to escape. And you're just like, alright. And then it's revealed La Sombra is actually tracking down Arnold with the amulet, and you're like, okay, this guy's actually pretty smart. This is a smart villain. And from there on, the film gets very Indiana Jones. They adventure, they find the Green Eyes, it's full of kids, there's no adults in sight. Arnold sees these tapestries or inscriptions of his parents helping out. They're curing this thing called the sleeping disease. But eventually they ran out of that cure, and they believe Arnold can actually help. That somehow he can make more of that cure. Then La Sombra returns, and he's just like, you guys are just kids? And the entire time I'm thinking, oh my god, these kids are gonna beat the ever-living hell out of him, and they do! Which is actually tied to a point I want to touch on later. But La Sombra gets the other hand, takes Arnold hostage, Gerald and Helga follow him, more Indiana Jones stuff happens. The artifact La Sombra was after opens up, reveals it has a heart of gold inside. He wants it for himself, he reaches for it, and the artifact shoots him in the head with a dart, and he falls over and dies. You're just like, oh, alright, that was pretty anticlimactic. Arnold, Gerald, and Helga are about to fall to their deaths when they're saved by the real Eduardo. And of course, he reveals, yeah, those pirates earlier, that was me trying to help you. And you're like, well, again, that was kind of predictable, but let's go with it. But actually something I didn't see coming was a poison La Sombra rising up. Dude looks like a straight up zombie. And I was kind of expecting some reveal like, oh, they're twin brothers. Maybe that was insinuation, they just didn't have to pull it out. But before La Sombra can actually do anything, the poison gets to his head and he falls over and dies for good. To which Eduardo says, he died as he lived, full of poison. The gang advances on. Arnold finally meets his parents, and this is a really emotional moment because they succumb to the sleeping disease. They're asleep, they can't wake up. And since the artifact in the Heart of Gold fell with La Sombra when he died, they don't have any way to fix it. But, and something I definitely didn't see coming and brought it full circle, Helga uses her heart-shaped locket of Arnold as a substitute for the Heart of Gold. And there's a really powerful moment where she says, my heart's not really gold, but it can still work. And Arnold says, I think your heart is more pure than you think. And it's just like, whoop. Yes, sweet catharsis. Needless to say, it does work. The cure literally rains down, wakes up all the adults and Arnold's parents, and he finally has a proper reunion with them, and the emotions are just everywhere. Literally the scene where he's running and the butterflies are everywhere, I felt myself getting choked up. Arnold wakes up in his room, he's like, oh no, are they gone again? Nope. His parents are living with him and his grandparents, and really it's happily ever after. Arnold starts 6th grade, aka middle school, a new chapter in his life. Gerald's officially a thing with Phoebe, and Arnold's parents are like, let us walk you to school. And when they do walk him to school, they're like, when do you get back? And he's like, 30. Arnold and Gerald walk into school, and it ends. That's a wrap on the Jungle movie, and probably a wrap on Hey Arnold. But we'll talk about that in a second. So, what did I like about this movie and what did I dislike? Well, I have very few complaints, but there's still complaints, so let's just get those out of the way. Again, the film was very predictable. You knew Eduardo was not what he seems in the beginning. This is a plot twist that's been done before. But I'm not watching Hey Arnold for some amazing plotline. I'm watching it for the characters, their development, their interactions. You're watching this so Arnold can be reunited with his parents, and if the ends justify the means, then some predictability was worthwhile. Another issue I had was the pacing, especially in the third act. I can't believe I'm saying this since it was 2 hours with commercials, so about 90 minutes, which is pretty good for a TV film, and just an animated film in general, but I felt like this movie actually needed more. Once we get to the grand revelation that Arnold's parents are asleep, it's just like a sprint to the finish line from there. And hey, I get it, it's time constraints, especially with TV, there probably were some deleted scenes. So I understand why these issues may have existed, and honestly, for as long as it took to get this movie, and the fact that we actually have it, I am 100% okay with that. So yeah, the film's not perfect, it has its flaws, but that doesn't stop you from enjoying it. My third and really final complaint about this film was that some of the characters felt flanderized, not all of them, mainly Rhonda and Harold. Everyone else seemed normal, but them especially just seemed like, hey, yeah, this is our characters on a 10, which I get it. Again, time constraints. You can't dedicate every single moment to every single character. So what did I love about this movie? What surprised me? Well, aside from my very minor complaints about Harold and Rhonda, the rest of the characters were splendid. Gerald felt like Gerald, Helga felt like Helga. Helga's parents felt like Helga's parents, being neglectful of Helga and favoring Olga over her. A scene that actually kind of stung is when they realize, hey, everyone's in trouble, and they just go, Olga, and they're like, oh yeah, and the other one. They don't even bother to remember Helga's name. And this isn't something that's resolved by the end of the film. Mr. Pataki is dealing with the fact that his beeper company is failing, and that's not wrapped up in the film. And I think the things that weren't wrapped up would be explored in a hypothetical season 6, but once more, we'll get to that later. Arnold's grandparents were splendid in this film. Every single time they were on screen, no joke failed to deliver. And I really love how they all come together to help with the kids towards the middle of the film. It wasn't like, hey, yeah, they're gonna pop in and then just disappear for the rest of the film. It's like, no, they come back into play. Granted, we didn't see Mr. and Mrs. Pataki at the end of the film, but that's a very minor nitpick. I also loved all the visual gags and things coming back into play. Like for instance, Mr. Pataki's beeper agitating an SOS signal to Mr. and Mrs. Pataki to like, hey, something's wrong, SOS Bob, SOS. Or even how Eugene's allergic reaction to the dragon fruit lasted throughout the film, and how that came into play when Helga and Gerald escaped. And a key moment for me that I just loved, it initially ripped my heart out, was when Helga ripped up her picture of Arnold in her locket and tossed the locket into the ocean. It's like, oh, it's gone. A staple of the series is just gone. Because moments before, Helga tries to confess her feelings to Arnold, and he knows it's happening. There's no way he can misinterpret it at this point. But the pirates conveniently come in and ruin the moment, which frustrates her like no other. Also on that note, one more complaint. I know Arnold really wants to meet his parents. But again, it was predictable and a cliche, and it rubbed me the wrong way when Arnold disregarded Gerald's fears that, hey, this Eduardo guy may not be all he seems, you're keeping secrets from me, and you don't do that. Again, I get the reasoning why, but that doesn't mean I'm going to excuse it. Anywho, after Helga tosses into the ocean, you're thinking, well, that's gone for good. But something I actually didn't see coming was brainy rescuing the locket, reassembling it, and giving it to Helga. And at that point, you're thinking, alright, maybe that'll be important if Eugene's allergic reaction was important. And it does end up being important, as once again, she uses the locket as a substitute for the heart of gold. And it's cheesy, but I loved it. The only thing this film was missing was a musical number, to be honest. Something else I enjoyed and I definitely didn't see coming was how brutal this film was. People die. Lasombra's men get crushed by a rock, and you hear groans, assuming that was probably Nick slipping in the sensors like, hey, let's try to make it seem like they're okay, but they're totally dead because they don't appear anymore in the film. That dude who fell asleep guarding Arnold gets used as a meat shield. Lasombra's actual death, I mean, hell, that dude went out twice. And overall, just the violence. Again, when all the kids attack Lasombra, I've probably said his name like 3 different ways in this video, and I'm gonna watch the movie and be like, oh, it was that one, so I just sound like a dumbass. Or when that guy Olga's flirting with in the beginning of the film just starts beating the ever-living hell out of that other guy for, well, flirting with Olga, or Olga flirting with him? I don't know, it's that sort of 90s slapstick that's been lacking in modern-day cartoons. Not saying slapstick and violence doesn't still happen, but never to that extent, and never that brutal to, well, other humans. Usually now it's like, are they robots? Are they aliens? And yeah, you can have some kind of violence. But no, many moments in this film were a straight up free-for-all. Beyond that, this movie had a lot of genuinely laugh-out moments. Again, with the grandparents, I also almost had to pause the TV because I was laughing so hard at the point where Brady gives the locket to Helga and she just flats out, plants one on the lips, and he does that flute dance. The art and animation in this film was also magnificent. I did not expect the animation to be that fluid. I was really afraid it was going to look kind of stiff or motion tweeny, but no, it looks like a modern day episode of Hey Arnold, which I personally really enjoy. Yeah, the designs are a slightly bit more simplified, but that's just going to happen as time goes on. So this all boils down to the question, should they make a season 6? Because the creator said, hey, if this film does well, I would love to do a season 6. He said this back at New York Comic Con, and I'm honestly right there with you, buddy. Although it felt weird having supernatural elements and this grand adventure in an episode of Hey Arnold, I really do want to see what Arnold's life would be like now with his parents in the picture. What's going to happen with Helga's parents? What's going to happen to family business now that cell phones are a thing? They didn't necessarily say smartphones, but is that something that would be introduced? I know the series takes place in like the late 90s, but let's just stop referencing the time period and introduce modern things, because that always goes well on TV shows and reboots. People love when you put memes in shows that take place in the past. That was a joke. I know I'm using an avatar for this video, so I need to make that clear. That I was joking. I don't want that. Also, now it seems like Arnold and Helga are done doing the will they won't they thing. I want to see what their relationship's gonna be like now. What's their chemistry now? These are all reasons why we need a season 6. And I'm sure the modern generation will love it if they like this film. Hey Arnold was an important show for urban kids back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it'd be a pretty important one now. Once Hey Arnold ended, we never got another show like that. And honestly, I think it'd do pretty well with the likes of the Loud House. They'd complement each other pretty nicely. Overall, I would give the film a 9.5 out of 10. Again, the flaws are there, but it did not stop me from enjoying this film, and it does feel like a farewell to Hey Arnold. It feels like a love letter to everything that is Hey Arnold. And overall, that was the goal, to wrap up Hey Arnold. And I want to say it reached that goal and executed so well effortlessly. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I definitely want to hear yours. What did you think of Hey Arnold the Jungle Movie? Do you want to see season 6? Comment your thoughts down below or tweet them directly to me at AwestruckVox. You can also follow the Roundtable on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Roundtable Vids, and on Snapchat, RoundtableYT, to catch some shenanigans. And seriously, tweet your thoughts to us. Let's get a dialogue going. What did you like about it? What did you hate about it? What's something you wish you could have saw more of? What other Nickelodeon series do you want to see get a movie? We know we have that Rocko's Modern Life special coming up, which that was my show growing up, so you know we're gonna talk about that special. We also have a Discord, official Amino app, and Patreon. Also swing by our store, grab some merch. Links to everything in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, share it with your friends, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, it really helps us out. Hit that bell for notifications so you never miss a video from the Roundtable. I hope you have a beautiful day, night. I'm gonna try to edit this video as soon as possible and get up as soon as possible. So who knows, it may be 2 a.m. when you're watching this. AwestruckVox, signing out.